Hi, my name is Rod Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Khleif, and I am freaking thrilled that you are here. And we are going to have an awesome conversation today with my friend Corey Peterson. Now, I was just on his podcast, the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. We had a lot of fun, and he's the CEO of Kahuna Investments, like the big kahuna, and just wrote an awesome book, which I read, which you must go read and see. It's called Copy Your Way to Success. And it's really about emulating the thing, nothing is new in this world. And so you emulate the things that you want to do and produce and so on and so forth. Anyway, welcome, brother. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, thanks, Rod. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, let's have some fun today. So, why don't we start by having you just kind of tell your story and, where you started, where you came from, kind of bring us current. We did a lot of stuff before we started recording, and I'm fascinated to get into it, but let's hear this whole story. Yeah.
Well, I'm a rags to riches success story. I mean, I grew up in the Ozarks, like the one on Netflix. And
no kidding.
So it was a rough beginning on the farm, and
by the lakes, by all the lakes and shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
True Ozarks.
I was looking at the property up there. I thought that'd be cool to have a house on one of those lakes. And anyway, I digress. Please keep going. Yeah.
But on the farm, you realize that there's not a lot of things to do, so you have to dream. And on that farm, I dreamt of big things. And I had a wild, vivid imagination of who I wanted to be. And you get in life and then it starts to knock you down. So I didn't get barely kind of got out of high school, didn't go to college, become a used car salesman.
Yeah.
And, that's where I was, but I really wanted to be something special. And then something changed. I was dating, now my wife of 21 years.
Nice.
But I was dating her back then, and my mom was married to a man named Bruce. I call him Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne.
He wasn't Batman, but he was loaded.
Okay.
And he had a house in Hawaii.
Wow.
And so my mom invited me and my girlfriend to go there. And so we get there, and it was the first time, Rod, that I saw true wealth.
Right.
Like, Bruce had time and money.
Right.
Most of us have one. He had both, and I saw it. So I'm like, dude, what do you do? And he said the magic words.
Real estate.
He said he was in real estate. He owned apartments.
No kidding.
And so I left the island thinking he was the big kahuna.
Right.
And shortly after, I read the book, Little Purple Book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
We all know the book, yeah.
And I was like, oh, my God, that's Bruce, because Bruce was self-made too. And I said, if he can do it, I can do it.
That's it.
And then
that was the epiphany.
That was it.
Yeah.
That's when I got the download from the mothership at 30 years old that this was what I was supposed to do. So read a lot of books. 2005, started real estate, called it Kahuna Investments because I thought about Bruce. I was like, I want to be the big kahuna like him.
Cool.
So that's what I named it after. And started off as a wholesaler, back doing single family stuff.
Where?
This was in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Then moved to Phoenix.
Oh, nice.
Actually moved to Phoenix because I made the first mistakes of a real estate investor. I invested all my money in 3 properties, and it was paying me $200 per property. So $600 wasn't going to get me very far.
Right.
So I got a job, but I actually got a job. Probably the best thing I ever did was I became a financial advisor.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So.
Wow, I would never have pegged you for that one because that's a fairly analytical position.
It is.
Yeah.
And so, they told me you didn't have to have a degree. You just had to be a salesperson. I was like, well, I own this company called Kahuna Investments.
There you go.
And but I studied really hard. I made a 72, Rod.
Wow.
And I got my license.
You made a 72 to pass the test.
Yes.
Hey, it's like an atom bomb. You can be close. That's all that matters.
Oh,
right?
my gosh. Edward Jones, it was with Edward Jones. They taught me money. And when you start really learning about money and how it works, what people, stocks, bonds, mutual, the whole gamut. And so I was doing that full time. And then the next thing happened, which was the Great Recession.
Right.
2008 and 2009.
How'd you do?
And I was in the stock market. I wasn't really buying a whole lot of real estate then. I was still kind of stuck.
Oh, thank God.
Because I'd run out of money on those first 3 deals. But my vision was still there. And when the market crashed, all my investors' money, I realized, because I kind of put my dream on hold for just a minute.
Sure.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I have no control in the stock market. Here I was telling everybody, like, I'm a financial advisor. When it crashed, I realized there was no control. There's no levers.
Right.
It's the market.
And I think it's coming again. I really do, brother.
We are.
You know, people say I'm freaking crazy, but I think we're headed for a big crash.
Yeah.
As this commercial debt starts coming due and banks starts failing, if you got money in the stock market, man, I wouldn't right now. That's my 2 cents.
That's exactly. So when that happened, every investor that I had went, their 401ks become 201ks.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that I had no control. My heart left the business. So did the sales.
I'm sure you had a lot of unhappy people, and there was a lot of blame getting thrown around.
Yes.
I'm sure back then. Yeah.
So I ended up getting fired from that job.
Did you really?
Best thing ever happened, though.
No kidding.
I walked into my office, on a Wednesday afternoon at 7 in the morning, and my secretary couldn't look at me. And I knew I had a meeting at 10. And I was like, the fix is on.
No kidding.
And in my office, all by myself with no one else looking, that's when I made the most deep down, honest, and you talk about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
This is when I fully committed to real estate. I like every book I ever read, the biggest plays were in the down times.
Oh, yeah, and it's coming. It's coming right now,
and
too.
I was like right in front of it. I was like, this is probably the worst we'll ever see in my lifetime. Maybe we get a second chance at it, too, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I don't go all in right now, I will forever hate myself.
So that was a pivotal moment, right?
That was the Rocky moment, man.
Wow.
I mean, I'm telling you, I got bit. Clubber Lang hit me, and I was like, had to decide whether I was going to get up or not. And I started that little kid, that little inner voice that we have, it was screaming, put me in. And so I went full time. I got my mind right, and so I started
full time into real estate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
this was when exactly at that point? 2008?
2008.
2008. Wow.
Which was a great time to enter into the marketplace.
Dude, if I got in 2009, we'd be doing this on the back of my 300-foot yacht right now, dude. I'm telling you.
And I know your story, so
so
I know the pain.
Yeah.
And so it was a great time to get in, and then I started wholesaling because I didn't have any money. And then got into real estate. Then I raised my first piece of private money by accident. I was just asking one of my old clients at Edward Jones if he knew anybody, and he was like, well, Corey, I want to do the deal. How do I finance it?
No kidding.
Gave me some money, and I was like,
what a great framework for the real estate thing, because you had all those connections at the freaking.
Once I understood it. The next year, I raised $3 million,
No
Rod.
kidding. And this is in 2009?
2009.
Wow. And it wasn't easy to raise money in 2009.
That's the only way you could do deals.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's coming again. We've got a fund we're going to be putting out here in like days, an opportunity fund. And so if you're accredited, text partner to 72345, because we're going to be taking advantage of some opportunity, and there'll be a return the minute you put the money in. Okay, like I think 4%, but there'll be much higher returns once we get rocking. But because I believe it's. Well, let's talk about the economy a little later. But anyway, continue your story.
So then it's crazy how it works, but it's like you start putting these single family flips together. But then I realized my first problem was I can't scale this.
Right.
And then the market, the short sales and REOs were starting to die up. And I was like, oh, my God, but I've got all this capital saying put me to work. And that's when I drove by an apartment complex. And I used to say, I wish I could own an apartment complex.
No kidding.
And one day I framed it differently. I said, how can I own an apartment complex?
That was your first one.
And so that's once I made up the mind, I'm like, okay, who do I know? So I got a mentor, and, man, I learned the business, and then I jumped in. And my first deal, I bought it in 2011, $3.2 million.
How big? How many units?
144.
Hold on. I gotta look. Hold on. Jeez, oh God. If that's coming. Oh my God, we're gonna do so well. So, 3 million.
Yep.
Okay, hold on. 3 million divided by 144. 20,000 a unit. 21, just under 21.
This was in South Carolina.
Wow.
This was in Greenville, South Carolina.
God, I wonder what that place is worth now.
Well,
Good
so
Lord.
it's funny. I just drove by it.
Yeah.
Because I was it just transacted for 18 million or something like that.
No kidding, 18 million.
I sold it 5 years later for 8.8.
Yeah.
And
well, your timing was freaking incredible, and.
Crystal balls.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Well, yeah. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Oh, good. Don't get me started. But wow, that's pretty cool.
But that's how I started playing Monopoly, right? I really realized that you got to get rid of the greenhouses.
That's it.
You got to go to the red houses quickly. And so now we own. We have $250 million worth of commercial real estate, 10 active projects, and it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah. Before we start recording, you talked about the fact you're heavy in student housing right now.
Yep.
So you pivoted. At what point did you pivot from straight multifamily long-term rentals to student housing?
It's funny. We bought right around COVID, right before COVID, about a year and a half before COVID, we started buying some student properties. Like, well, this is pretty good.
Right before COVID. Wow.
Right before COVID. Right?
Did that screw you up when it hit?
Well, yes.
Okay,
so this is a curveball, but
Right.
it ended up being a beautiful curveball at the end.
Okay.
Because I believe you buy where the pain's at.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So going through COVID, the initial ones that we had, we went, 100%, 100%. All of a sudden, COVID happened, 45%.
Wow.
That's almost a death sentence.
Right.
We managed to
You got through it.
get through it.
Wow.
But I also said,
let's stop there for a second. What did you do to get through it?
we had to raise capital.
You had to raise capital.
Yeah,
so
we
you
had
had to do
to
a capital call.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had to work around with the bank. We did.
You did a forbearance?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
But you were able to pull it off and pull it back together.
Yes.
Wow, fantastic. And there's a lot of that going on right now. I mean,
You had to.
my big SEC attorney in Dallas, half of his business now is forbearances and capital calls and foreclosure as well,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
So I learned a lot. I learned a lot through that whole process, how the banks work, what happens when you go into special servicing, things like that.
Yeah, that's where they put you when you do that. They put you in special servicing. They basically really put you under a microscope.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure that
They control all your money.
So they actually control the money too. So
Oh
you
yeah,
got the
I was in
purse
a lock for sure.
No
yeah.
kidding. Wow.
I only got my expenses.
Okay.
It was
no fun.
It was hard.
Yeah.
But then we finally were able to refi out of it.
No kidding.
And COVID was just a black swan event. But
Right.
because of that, though, I was like, the fundamentals have not changed. And usually when the market goes down, enrollment in colleges go up.
Really?
And I
did not know that.
Yep, because everybody's like, I got to go retrain. I got to go back to school.
Oh, that makes sense. No, that makes a lot of sense.
And so
Okay.
I started kind of thinking about COVID. I was like, man, I think this is going to make us even though the multifamily world was going crazy, right? At that time, rents were shooting
it was
up.
great, and we got hundreds of thousands of dollars in rent relief.
And I had some of that too.
Yeah,
So I still had some regular multifamilies.
Right.
This is why I've learned to diversify.
Right.
But I also said, man, there's probably some opportunity on the student side as well. And which is going to play out really good, I think, as we're moving forward into what we're coming into. That so we ended up buying another 4 projects, 4 or 5 big projects, 25 million, 22 million, and we bought a $40 million project,
Wow.
right?
And those are valued based on beds, right?
Yeah, we rent them by the bed.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot more laborsome.
Right. And there's a lot of turnover, and you've
once a
you
year
got to
it
hit
all
the leasing
happens.
season within like a month or something. And
It's happening right now.
It's happening. Oh, so you're in it
Yeah,
right now.
we've
Wow.
got so every property is different, but next week it really starts.
Wow.
Everybody moves out and moves back in a matter of 3 weeks.
No kidding. Wow, that's intense.
It's a crazy.
Now
time.
I know. Right now you've got 1,800 units, but like a lot more beds than that.
Yeah, because when you rent it by the bed, so the typical bed on some of our properties is $650 a bed. Well, at a 4-bedroom place, right?
That's significant.
Yeah, there's
Are these complexes built for student housing, so they've got a bigger common area, more bathrooms, whatever?
Yep. Usually, either they're 4.2s or 4.4s. They're really built for student housing.
Wow.
One of the things that we said, if we're going to go into that market, the most important thing for us was closest to the college wins.
Right.
So location.
No kidding. Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
Okay.
Because if the enrollment ever goes down, and listen, colleges enrollments are slowly dwindling.
Well, I want to talk about that in a minute. We can talk about it now. So I had Harry Dent on the show. He's an economist. I don't know if you know the name. He works on population demographics. That's a big part of his economic forecasting, okay? And I saw him, and the reason I give him credibility is I saw him, I don't know, maybe 10 years before the '08 crash. I went to Canada and watched him speak, and he said it was coming. Now, of course, these guys all say, Rich Dad's been saying it forever. Peter Lynch has been saying it forever, and so did Harry Dent, but he called it, and had I gotten out of real estate, like he said, get out of real estate, I wouldn't have lost $50 million. But the thing that I picked up on, that I don't want to negate student housing, but he did say that college, because of these population booms and busts, that college enrollment is going to go down here at some point in a big way.
Yep.
And so just something to maybe
Well, it
look
already
at.
has in some of the smaller markets. So what have we learned through that is the smaller markets, D2, D3 schools, not as attractive as a D1 school. Our D1 schools are crushing it, right?
Okay.
Our D2 schools, because we bought location, so I typically don't buy unless I'm right next to the college.
Okay.
And that's the last one to get not filled up, right?
Really?
So
Okay, that makes sense.
The ones that are farther away, 2 or 3, 4 miles away,
that makes sense.
those are losing occupancy first. So
Interesting.
it's really got to be a little strategic in it, and we always have been, because that was my biggest mantra. That was what I was scared about the most, because my eyes were wide open when I came into it.
Okay.
But I said, how can we make the opportunity work for us?
Right. No, what you said makes complete sense. And whenever you position yourself like that, if you've got a restaurant on the water, I don't care if the food sucks, you're going to do okay. And so if you've got an apartment complex or student housing right next to the college or whatever, you're golden. And those opportunities, they're a little harder to find.
Yeah.
But I've got Warriors coaching students that have a ton of student housing as well. And
well, here's what I too love about it. Mom and Dad usually guarantee the leases.
Oh yeah. So the leases are guaranteed,
right? They're 12-month leases. Kids stay there for 9 months.
No kid. Oh, so you do a 12-month? You make them pay
for
the 12 months. Okay.
There's no way that you have to.
Okay.
Right. So and they pay.
Okay.
And they pay, and then Mom always pays with. If kid breaks something,
right?
Kid, listen, these are college kids.
Oh yeah,
Rod.
Good God, yeah. There's an occasional alcoholic drink involved.
There may be some, drywall repair is a thing that we do well.
No kidding. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Wow, that's awesome. Well, so I know that I'd like to shift to operations for a minute. So let's talk about the differences between student housing and multifamily, just because I don't know that I've ever really gotten into student housing on the show. So let's talk about what's different about it.
It is, great question. What's really different is the amount of staff needed and the extreme care to the students, right? These college kids, I'm not saying they're
care in what way?
I'm not saying they're prima donnas, but listen, the average person is, it's hover mom and dad.
Right.
Their daughter's going to college,
There's
and they want
entitled thing coming on here. Is
there's
that what you're saying?
a little something like that.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
They're a little bit more privileged. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but you just have to. It's customer service is huge.
No kidding. Okay.
Huge. Right.
Okay.
Maintenance wise, getting people in internet. Oh my God. We got to make sure our internet's fast.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then it's really about resident. So the pitch that we give, and this is what we do, is in the operations of it, is making sure that you have an environment that, mom and dad come and they're like, what they're worried about is how is my kid going to
Safety,
successfully go through their college experience.
Right.
And they're looking at us as housing to provide a community. So community events. Okay. Rod, we've spent a lot of time and money making community events with the students.
Give me some examples of some of the community events.
Socials, grocery bingo,
okay.
Pool parties,
okay.
Anything that we can get residents in and get them, because if they know a friend or they have friends at where they're living, we know they'll stay longer,
right?
They'll renew, right? And so that's why we do it for sure. But also, it's about community. You build communities.
Well, you do that in a multifamily complex as well. We just had a pool night at one of our pool movie night with a big screen at night with popcorn and all that stuff at one of our complexes in Nashville. And so it's similar to that, but probably it's more intense and
way more intense,
right.
more frequently.
Frequent, yeah.
Right. Oh. So, and you got to have, and usually these things are going on later on in the evening. So we call them CAs, community ambassadors, right? They're going to come, and these are the ones that are going to college or working part time. They're kind of our liaisons to the student body.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, so you've got students that are actually liaisons that tell you what's needed, what we should be doing.
Let's go do this. Or they're the ones that are running the events and and posting on the social. And,
that's smart.
We got to get them where they're at, like TikTok.
Sure.
Insta. So our Insta accounts and all that stuff. We're full blown
big
managing.
there in social. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes good sense. So you're posting there all the time to
Every
get people
day.
in. Wow. Okay. Well, and so you've got a short leasing window. That's another
short leasing window. But we lease all year long. So we start. We're moving all the kids in August.
Right.
September is the 1 month that we kind of have off.
Okay.
We actually will throw a couple big parties.
Okay.
Welcome home.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
And then in October, renewals season starts.
Really?
Yep, we start renewing, lock in the best rate right now. Right?
So you're renewing for August and October.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Wow, wow! Like
And it's a
9 months
crazy
in advance. Wow.
But these kids will know, and so in the right markets they already know, and they're like, this is the best. And we do tiered pricing.
Okay.
So just like
So if they renew early, they get better pricing.
they get the best price.
Yeah. Okay. You know, guys, in multifamily, you do renewals. In fact, it's one of the KPIs we look at. I want to see 3 months of lease expirations every time we meet on a weekly basis. How many of those have been renewed to market rent, and how many, you know, are moving and or noticed or leaving? And that's one of the KPIs you do in the multifamily. But you're talking about doing it 9 months in advance. Holy cow!
Yeah.
That's a big difference. And so the customer service is more intense here because they're of the privilege, entitlement, whatever it is. They're used to being babied by mom and dad. They want to be babied where they go. Okay. And
you got to realize these kids don't know how to do anything.
Right.
Right. So
right.
like
they can't fix screw a freaking light bulb.
the maintenance
Right.
guys, bless their hearts, right?
Yeah.
These guys are small angels, in my opinion, because
Oh, but they've
you know,
got stories. how do I turn this stove on?
yeah, all of a sudden they're like, boop. That's how you do it. Oh, so we actually make videos. We have a lot of short videos that
do
we
you
send
really?
out. Yes. You know, we make TikToks. We have maintenance guys that make TikToks. Here's how to, you know, if you had a water problem, here's how you turn off the valve.
Turn the shutter or turn the shut off. Oh, that's hilarious, man. That's freaking awesome. Well, it sounds kind of entertaining and
But
fun,
here's the great
honestly.
news is once they move in, so it's funny is they move in, now we already know we have the occupancy for the rest of the year.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about it. Like,
there's no
you do a
renewals
hard
in
push up
between,
front,
right?
and then you just manage it, and then make sure you're giving great customer service. And then a lot of times in some of these colleges, in spite of yourself, you're going to renew and fill up again, just because that's
Right.
like we don't get to choose when our kids get of college age.
Right.
And if they're going to college, they're going.
That's it. And you're in 7 markets, I think you said?
Yep.
7 markets. Well, let's shift then. That's really informational. And you're always getting co-signers because they have no income or whatever, so parents are always signing, and it's expected. Okay. Let's shift because you told me that you vertically integrated. And I was kind of shocked because I asked you where you're located. You're in 7 markets. I'm like, so by vertically integrating, what that means is you're doing your own management, okay? Maybe even your own construction. That's called vertical integration. And it's great. It's a fantastic way to have complete control, but typically you're geographically close together so that you can have a regional manager that manages those assets. And so it's very unusual to be as spread out as you are and vertically integrate. So why don't you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So, and I said I would never do this, Rod.
Really?
I said I would never be in property management because we know it's a thankless job, right?
Nobody calls when they're happy.
Yeah.
The tenants don't call when they're happy. And if you're managing for other people, good God, they never call when they're happy. So people burn out, actually. You know, I've had management companies for decades, but yeah.
So I just kept on having bad experiences with the management companies that we were working on for the same exact reasons that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Because they're doing the same thing, even though, because these locations are all different spots. And typically you don't own more than 1 or 2 properties in one college town because that's too risky.
Right.
Something happens to that college, you're really in a bad spot.
So you don't have a lot of leverage. There's a lot of oversight in your asset management, and you're like, screw this. We're just going to do it ourselves.
Yep. So we just decided to pull the trigger. We finally got big enough where we felt like, hey, because you got to have a whole accounting department.
Sure.
Right. You got to have, that's the number one, is you got to make sure the books are right.
Accounting is everything. Yeah.
Right. Number 2, then it's about the management of your people and staff. And so we felt like this is the biggest reason we did this was about control and culture and understanding your people. We're in a people business, right? I mean, whether you're in multifamily or student, we can agree that the best thing you can do is have great people working for you.
Every business is nothing but people and systems.
Yep.
You get those things down, your success is inevitable.
And so we believe that we could put in better people and better systems and better training, right? And so one of the things, because we only manage for ourselves, right?
Okay.
And we will never probably ever third-party manage, but we manage just our own stuff. We've created this thing called an MIT, a manager in training.
Love it.
Each property pays to the collective, right?
Oh.
About $1,200, I think, is what we're at right now.
So
$1,200 per property.
Per property into a collective, and what's done with that money?
And so that's used to hire managers in training. So we will go to these colleges, 'cause we're already in the colleges,
wow.
right? And we're recruiting people that want to be in the management business.
No kidding.
And then we're putting them on site. We already have a place for them to live.
So it's not free. They're actually paid interns, basically, is
and
what
we're
it is.
taking them through the curriculum of here's.
So you've created a video curriculum? Is that
and we'll have a physical manager. We have certified trainers now at our property.
Oh, very cool.
I'm the property manager. I'm a certified trainer.
Okay.
We have a curriculum
which makes them
for
feel good that they're helping.
Here's the
kids.
Kahuna way.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then what they do is they go and migrate on this one training property. To the maintenance supervisor. So the maintenance supervisor says, "Hey, manager and train me, MIT. I'm going to show you what a great maintenance supervisor looks like. Here's how my shed looks. Here's how we order.
My inventory.
Here's how we save costs.
Right.
Here's what I do."
Nice.
And he has a checklist and a curriculum that he's teaching off of.
Good
and
for
then they
you.
go into the leasing department. Here's what leasing does. Here's what the property manager does. Everything has a role and a system and a deal. So now here's the beautiful thing. People quit. We buy a new asset.
Sure.
We buy a new property.
Sure.
That's one of the biggest problems I've seen with property management companies is the staffing. You buy a property, you're usually buying a problem, right?
Yeah, sure.
That needs fixed.
Sure.
And most of the times, I'm not saying all the time, most of the time, it's the people that are
It's almost always the people, or the seller has discontinued spending on
or you need some
maintenance.
dollars.
You need money. Yeah. So it's one of those two
It's
things.
both.
Yeah.
It's usually both. Always.
Yeah.
Every time.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we know that. So then what solves it? How can you solve it the most efficiently, quickly? It's not training that new manager, that old manager that's got bad systems and bad habits.
They got to go. But the fact that you're already grooming future managers, that's
Dude, that
freaking
bleed
brilliant, brother.
Kahuna red, right?
Yeah, love it.
And
bleed
so,
Kahuna red.
Right?
I love it.
This is how
I like
when I
that
talk about
color
culture,
too. By the way, we won't go down that rabbit hole, but thank you.
But I mean, so it's all about culture, and I would love to talk a little bit more about.
No,
why
I want to
think
talk
that's
more
so
about
important.
culture for sure. So I want to talk more about culture because,
But
that's
the premises of what we built was because we knew if we have an asset we're buying or someone leaves and we can send these managers in training are deployable. They're young college kids.
Sure.
Hey, go move to whatever town. Yeah, no problem.
No kidding. Wow. Well, the beautiful thing, what you're doing is you're creating no knowledge transfer loss when you lose somebody. You know what? That's a big problem. Like my daughter right now became director of marketing at just digress for a second, but it's applicable at a cruise-related company, and she's got a new team. And she stepped in and they weren't doing anything right. And I said, baby, one of the things you got to do in the next 90 days, every single person there needs to document everything they're doing, their SOPs with videos. And I said, so that somebody from freaking McDonald's could step in and do it. There's a book about this called E-Myth by Michael Gerber, how you basically franchise, you McDonaldize your business,
yes.
which is what you're doing, which is what you're talking about with the checklists and the different pieces. And that way, when people are cross-trained and all those SOPs, standard operating procedures are in place, you're never going to have a knowledge transfer loss. Somebody leaves, gets sick, get hit by a bus, somebody steps right in because everything's laid out already.
Man, it has to be that way. That's the only way you grow. And,
right.
And that's Sigma, like Six Sigma.
Right, exactly.
We're just talking about efficiencies.
Correct.
In that
Correct.
Process.
And then constant and never-ending improvement. You're always looking at each one of these processes and how do you make it better? Tony, that's a Tony Robbins thing, kanai. But really it's Kaizen from the Japanese and how they were so efficient in their processes and their manufacturing, and there's a word for it called Kaizen, but it's basically never constant and never-ending improvement. These little shifts, you make these little improvements, and you take them out. You take them out a year, 2 years, 3 years. They become massive shifts.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
They move mountains.
Right. So culture, something I freaking love, and. I've had some big companies. The last one would have been in my litigation support company. We had 60 employees, and we had a lot of fun. And we did a lot of fun stuff. We had a CFO, a chief fun officer. Okay, they had come up with ideas. I was mentioning this on another interview. We did Christmas decorating of our cubicles. I mean, there was one woman that. I got to show a picture of it. She had she brought in a train, she mounted it on the ceiling, it was going around the freaking ceiling. It just gives you an idea of how far they took this thing. And we gave cash prizes, and we'd have costume parties, and these costumes were insane. When the cold plunge challenge, or that cold, they threw buckets of ice on people.
Yeah.
We got one of those dunking booths. We filled it up with ice water. My happy ass was sitting there first and got dunked like on the first throw. But stuff like that, just to have fun and create that culture. I did goal setting for the whole team. People cried when they did their goals. They never had anybody do their goals for them before. Administrative people never, and so that. So I love the conversation, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, and I think so because it's the most valuable thing you'll ever do as a CEO.
Yeah, agreed.
As a leader, the one thing you can do is because you have culture in your company, whether you know it or not.
Right.
And it's whether you want to take control of it.
It can be a positive or a negative culture. Yeah. And so, as a CEO, let's talk about that for a minute, actually. As a CEO, talk about what is important in that role.
Well, understanding that the first part is to understand that the people are the business.
Yep.
Right? Yep. Once you know that, then you say, okay, then you start working on breathing life into your culture. So
I would back you up for 1 second. I would say the first thing is communicating your vision for what you want. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it starts with the vision.
Mission.
Then you focus on the mission, the people, and then like what you're doing is
even our core values. Like
core values.
When we hire people right now, our first interview is a culture interview, and it's actually 90% of me talking, very little input. I'm like, listen, I need you to understand who we are because you're probably not going to want to work for us.
Oh, good takeaway. Right? Good takeaway.
And so it's really one of those. I'm going to push you away unless you are that person. Then you're going to be attracted.
Nice. That that sounds similar to what Tony Hsieh at Zappos used to do. Unfortunately, he passed away, but I got to meet him at a Tony Robbins event, and they talk. In fact, let me digress for 1 second about culture. I mean, they used to have parades through their company offices of employees. And I'll tell the story. It's kind of a cool story where he was at a party. He told me he was at a party in San Francisco, and it was late at night, and there were some drunk people there, and there was these two women talking about, they were all about customer service, basically. So it's not just culture, it's customer service. So this is the example. So these two women were like, I want a pizza. And then one other woman goes, I'm going to call my lady at Zappos. And this is a true story. And he overheard it. And she's like, and they're drunk, and they call this person at Zappos because they have 24-hour phones. And she goes, I want to get a pizza. And this woman says, we sell shoes here. But then she goes, just wait a minute. Where are you? And what do you want? And she used her credit card, and you know what happened. They got the friggin' pizza. And Tony knew this because he listened to the conversation. They record all the conversations. But, when you can create that kind of a freaking culture where people, create raving fans, in your students,
it's game over.
Game over, dude.
It
game
really
over.
is. Yeah. And when your team does that, they show up. So I just love the part that we've took a. If that's the focus is our people, and then we start building the things, and then we started saying, okay, well, then we have our core values, but we need to breathe life into our core values, right? They just can't be 4 words or 4 or 5 words. You got to have stories behind it.
No, that's good. That's really good. Actually, that just gave me some great advice. Yeah, I mean, our core values start with integrity, but then I had somebody realign them, and they work with the acronym FAMILY. Like the first one is fun. Now I'm have drawn a blank, but in fact, thank you.
But so we do it. One of ours is integrity as well. But then we'll tell a story of what that looks like in our company and say,
good. That's good.
Devon, my controller, she had a deal where we launched a new payment process, right? And of course, we did it on a Friday, which was a bad idea,
right?
And of course, it glitched. It didn't go out, right? Now this is Devon's department, and she's like, so on Saturday, she's calling me saying, Corey, I am on tech support. I've got this. By golly, on Monday, this thing's going to get fixed. And because she had so much integrity that she was burning Saturday. And so, we hold our time dear. We want to work Monday through Friday. But anybody and everybody on my team knows that if you have to, and including myself, we'll jump in the ring and we go.
Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, yeah.
And that was her mantra. And she was like, and she had no issues with it. She's like, I'll be damned if it doesn't it'll go out on Monday, Corey.
Yeah. That's what you want,
and so
man.
Telling those stories along with your real words, and then I like to call them out. So let me ask you, would you be willing to do that on a Saturday. Straight up call them up.
Good. That's good. Well, that's really good. So use that as an example.
Call the question.
I wrote that down. Family stories, because family again is our acronym for our core values, and I love that. I'm going to create some of my own. So let me ask you this. We work with people getting started in the business. Is there a type of person that's best suited for real estate investing?
If there is, I've never met that person.
Yeah. Okay.
The person I think that's best suited is the one that thinks he can.
Oh God, good answer. Good freaking
Right?
answer. My most successful students are the ones that don't even think about what could go wrong. They just take massive freaking
You just say
action.
jump and they say how high. I'm already doing
That's it. They don't get caught up in analysis paralysis. They just take massive freaking action.
Life is too short, and honestly, to waste. Like, what makes successful people successful is action.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
You
it.
you jump out of the plane. You build the parachute on the way
That's
down.
it.
That's entrepreneurship 101.
That's it, man. That's it. Right. You nailed it. So let me ask you this: what do you think is your greatest greatest professional success so far?
I know how to solve things. I don't know if that's the right word to say it, because I could put it in a quantitative deal, but like, I think the best thing that I'm known for around my company is Corey solves things.
Okay.
Right? When there's problems, and sometimes they seem complex to a lot of people. For me, I'm like, oh wait, no, this is not. Do this, call that, get this guy, bring it together, solved. And to me, those are my biggest wins, because they usually generate the most money for me, right? Because a lot of times it's like putting together deals sometimes, right?
Does that? Let me ask you a question on the flip side of that. Does that lock you up because they're coming to you too much?
Used to.
Okay.
So this is me trying to become a CEO.
Right.
I've started adding layers. So we just hired a COO.
Okay.
And man,
oh, that freed you up, didn't it?
Oh my.
Yeah,
bro.
Because I think the most successful companies in the world hire the CEOs hire people and try to get them to solve their own problems as much as possible, right? That's why I asked you that question, because because it can lock up the CEO. The bottleneck of every business is always the CEO.
Well, and here's another thing.
Mine is a perfect example. I'm bottleneck. I mean, I've been waiting on stuff for our freaking investment website that it's getting a little mind-numbing how long it's taken. Yeah.
Well, so we talk about in our hiring process, we talk about googliness.
Googliness?
Right? Googliness.
Ah, got it. Okay.
What is your ability to Google and solve problems?
Nice.
And we ask it like that. I'm like, listen, in this company, in our organization, you have to be and have the kind of mindset that if you don't know before you come to anybody higher up that you're going to get on the internet.
You keep the monkey on your back for the time being.
Just try to solve the problem.
Well, with ChatGPT,
get on chat.
Get on there and check that out. Because
Google it. Get it on Google. Get on chat. There's
right.
answers there for you, because that's probably what the other person is going to have to do to solve whatever you think you have anyway.
Sure, unless it's knowledge that they have innately.
Yep.
What do you think is the most challenging part of your role right now with this endeavor with student loan housing?
My most challenging thing is it's always raising capital. This is funny is even we've been really good at raising capital, Rod. We think we've raised like $95 million in private equity. That's not bad for a small outfit like myself.
Yeah.
But what I think, how do you do more, right? So I'm a real estate junkie.
Me too.
I love it.
Me too.
I don't know how else.
Live, eat, and breathe it, man. Yeah.
So but I get bored of it once after we buy something.
You're an entrepreneur. See, there are three archetypes. Okay, there's the entrepreneur. They want to get in, get it done, and get out of it. Okay. Then there's the manager leader who comes in and steps in, the COO. Okay.
Yes.
Then there's the artist. Okay. Now sometimes you're wearing multiple hats. The artist or the innovator. Like in Silicon Valley, there's these guys that are doing these companies, haven't got a clue how to run a company, but they're very creative and they're the artists. So those are the three archetypes. Then an entrepreneur will come and get the business going. Then the like a venture capital fund, and then they'll bring in the C-suite to manage it after the fact. Right.
Yeah,
and so you're an entrepreneur.
I'm learning. Yeah, I'm absolutely 1,000%.
Right.
Total visionary. Right. But learning to put all the other people in.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing for me to do. But now that we have started to do it, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's running better.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I was the cog.
Oh yeah, the same.
Always.
CEO is always the cog, always the bottleneck. And this is stuff I learned from Tony at his Business Mastery. So share a, everybody thinks it's all golden, that there's no problems and no, I call them seminars, failures or seminars, but talk about a war story. Talk about a time you got your ass handed
I'm going to talk about the first deal.
Okay,
I got my butt kicked right away.
Okay,
right?
All right, talk about it.
I did the first deal. I went to a seminar, and I got in the back of the room and said, I got a lot of money. If you got a deal, I'm interested. So 2 guys approached me. They had a deal. It was a deal that I bought in South Carolina. And so we agreed to a 75-25 split. I was going to get 75% of the ownership.
You were? Okay, wow.
Because I was bringing all the money. I was going to rescue their deal.
Okay.
They were under contract, and if they didn't close in 30 days with, $1.4 million,
wow,
they were going to lose the $200,000 earnest they had. So I came in and the one thing I did right was I underwrote the deal well.
Okay.
But I didn't know the operating agreement.
Oh.
We agreed to something, but when I signed papers, I missed it. My lawyer missed it. Maybe I didn't have the right lawyer at the time because it was still pretty new, Rod.
Wow, yeah, no, a lawyer shouldn't have missed that.
I had 75% of the owner of the outcome of the
but not the management.
the numbers, but not the control.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
33, 33, 33.
Oh, jeez, wow.
And I'm like, wait a second. I just committed $1.4 million of my investors' money to this project, and now I'm not in control.
Wow.
That I told them that I would be.
Wow.
That was a major hurdle, right? And I'm like, oh my God. And so I'm not proud of this, but I mean, I may have called the guy up and said, listen, I'm coming, and hell's coming with me. I'm coming to your house, and we found an arbitrator, a friend, to sit between us, and we negotiated a price to buy him out that day.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't even have the money, so I'm like, God, I had to call another buddy. I'm like, dude, I need a couple $100,000
Okay.
to make this thing happen. And the great thing is when you know you've got really great friends with capital is when you can make a call and they like, yeah, where do you want me to wire?
Right.
No problem.
Right. Yeah, that's worth
It's invaluable.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
But solve that, and but then the next problem happened. So I bought one guy, so I got now 66% control, but the other guy sued me. Right out of the gate. I mean, first deal, I'm like, gosh, I'm in litigation. I'm sued. Makes matters worse. The loan that they had gotten was a fully controlled loan. I'm trying to think what it's called, but we had no access to any of our monies.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it was full lockbox. It was lockbox controlled because it was a bridge loan, but it was
bridge debt.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was bridge.
Okay.
And back then because they were so new that they were putting the screws to us. So I'm like, wait a second, hold on, we can't even pay our investors now.
Wow.
For 2 years.
Wow.
And
so
I had a lot of uphill battles, and that was scars that no one will see.
Right.
But it's the amount of mental pressure.
Oh yeah. It took a couple years off your
but
life.
how are our diamonds made?
That's right. I love that. Love that analogy, brother.
Right?
Love that analogy.
And so
intense pressure.
It's it.
Dude, that $50 million I lost, I came out stronger, smarter, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger is absolutely the truth.
That deal turned out good. My second deal I ever did, though, I bought one in Tucson. And
where do you live now? Is it Phoenix?
I live in Arizona.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Tucson, Arizona is, it was 45 minutes from my house. And I'm like, oh, this little spot. But I made my first mistake.
Okay.
This is a rookie mistake.
Okay.
I took a regional management company out of South Carolina.
Oh, to manage it? Oh, good God.
Yes.
Oh, good God.
It was an idiot move.
Okay,
Rod.
so let me just say this, okay? When you are, by the way, I have a book at Rod's links on how to hire a third-party property manager. I will tell you, it's the best book on the topic there is. Period. And it's free, so the price is right. But one of the things is, how far is the management company away from the asset that you own, and where does more importantly, where does the regional live, and how many assets do they manage, and how close are they to your asset? Right.
Yes.
You're right.
I didn't have that book, Rod.
Yeah, sorry, brother. Sorry.
So this is 2012, my second deal, and so then I did the next worst thing is I fired them and I hired myself.
No. Wow. Okay.
I was like, because this is like a 75 unit deal. I can manage it myself, Corey. I'm so smart.
Wow.
And then it got really bad.
Really?
Right?
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Then I learned how you can get a fair housing complaint filed on you.
Oh my God.
They can steal. They don't show up.
Right.
I'm like looking at the cameras.
Oh,
Is my staff even there today?
Wow.
Finally, now this is about a year and a half, and I did this on my investor's dime, honestly, and it felt bad. Finally, I smartened up, and I was like, there's a great management company in that marketplace. I hired them, and in 90 days, solved.
Turned around. Yeah.
like that.
A good management company is worth their weight in freaking gold. We've got an incredible one on our asset in San Antonio. Incredible. It's a good friend of mine that owns it. But so let me ask you this. I like to ask this question of super successful people like you. You know, if you go back and tell 18-year-old Corey something, you know, I'm sure you've had this question before. You know, what, if anything, would you do differently?
I would have not sold anything.
Oh, God. You
right?
know,
That's what everybody says,
interview,
right?
No. Oh, you're just bullshitting? That's not what you say?
No, that's exactly what I say.
I you know, my first interview was a billionaire. His name is Albert Beres. And he told me, I'm a real estate buyer, not a seller. Yeah. I mean, to give you an idea, this guy, he owns McKinley Corporation. Have you ever heard of the book Traction?
Yes.
The EOS system?
Yes.
He's in the book, okay? They did his company. And
we practiced.
I invited him to come to my mastermind, and my assistant called his assistants, like, you know, Camille's telling Nina, yeah, we're going to fly him down first class. We're going to put him up in the Ritz-Carlton. We're real excited he's coming. And Nina's like, it's okay. He'll fly his own jet down. It's fine. Yeah, so, but anyway, and another just funny anecdote on that. I was 45 minutes. This was my first interview on the show, okay? I was 45 minutes in, and I realized I forgot to hit the record button. Oh, God, it was horrible. But he's an awesome guy. He's been on the show like 3 times. But, yeah. So,
I don't think I would. I mean, that would be the biggest. I don't have any other regrets in the whole process. I just look back and say, gosh, Corey, if you would have been, and I would have pushed myself in 2011 when I really went in to go way harder. Oh, my God. Yeah, I would have went way harder. Because if I would have I sold that Tucson deal, and I got out barely enough to pay off my investors, but it was like 2 years into it.
Wow.
If I would have kept my original business plan, oh my God, we would have made so much money.
Insane,
oh my God.
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you a really painful one. This is not in the multifamily space, in the single-family space. I owned 500 houses in Denver. Yeah. If I still had them, they'd be free and clear, and I would be netting, bottom line net, $1 million a month. Yeah. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I say.
But those are the scars. But those
are
the battles
that you
have.
Man, that's the freaking growth. And life is about meaning. You place a meaning on what happens to you, and the meaning I place is I never would have met Tiffany. And again, even though things have shifted in that relationship, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Yeah. So, you know, but
I say the journey is the reward for me. That's my favorite.
I like
the
that.
journey.
I like that.
I have a motorcycle, I have a custom motorcycle, and I have that right there by the gas tank.
No kidding.
The journey is the reward.
Love it.
And that's what it is. We're on a journey, man.
I couldn't agree more. You know, and you know, I talk a lot about goal setting and goals, and it's never about the goals. Happiness comes from progress and growth along that journey.
That pursuit.
Yeah, that's it. So what do you think is some of the best advice that you've ever received?
I got it from my dad. My initial advice I got from my dad. My dad said, Corey, hustle in everything you do.
Nice.
Right? He said, Corey,
nice.
I remember when I was a young boy, he'd get down on it. You kind of got down to my level. He said, son, if a coach says run around that tree or run around that whatever, you better be first.
Nice.
The only way you're not first is someone has to physically beat you. If they physically beat you, that's okay. But, Corey, they will not be able to do it every day, every practice. You will win by persevering and hustling in everything you do.
That's an awesome advice. Love that. So what is your definition of success? What does success looks like to you?
That's a great question. For me, I think the definition of success is doing the things that make you happy and having the time to be authentically you. Yeah. Most people are not authentic. I can't even say
authentic.
The word.
They're not authentic. Yeah, they're not authentic. In fact, you know,
they wear masks.
Yeah, and believe it or not, and this is not ego, but the truth of it, that's probably the word that's used to describe me the most, because I talk about every freaking mistake I've made and make and so on and so forth, and you know, and it's refreshing. You know, I mean, to not worry so much about the opinion of others and just be you, you know. And you know, if you're listening and you want to do something, for example, on social media or something, don't try to be something you're not. Don't do the pictures in front of the Lamborghinis. Be you and you'll have a Lamborghini, okay? Just be you. So do you have any favorite quotes that you live by? Any that you like?
I got this from The Richest Man in Babylon, but it's just like the 10th of everything I make is mine to keep.
A 10th of everything you make is yours to keep.
Yeah, and I think that's financially, being smart financially and saving, and I say not saving, but really it's learning how to invest money, right? And taking, your own money that you make and making sure that you're putting it aside to grow and to do the things that you really want. I think that's super, super powerful.
Love it, love it, love it. So what's something weird or interesting or, unusual or surprising about you that hardly anybody knows?
That I went to Kiev, Ukraine on a Christian missionary.
No kidding.
And when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
Right?
There's a lot going on
right now. Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Wow.
We went, 1991 is when they broke away from Russia. 92 is when I was there packing Bibles and going into high schools and talking to their English department and sharing our faith. And it was it was on mission. It was a missionary. I'm a Christian, and I went there, and I'm telling you, my eyes were opened because what I saw was that we're all people. Believe it or not, our countries, even though our countries are at war, or countries have problems,
right?
But usually people are pretty good in the core.
It's the idiots that control the countries that cause the problems.
But I learned a lot, and I saw a lot, and that was my first taste of international, and I realized how good we have it here in the U.S., bro.
Yeah. Greatest country on earth.
I left with only clothes on my back because I gave away
everything.
But dude, back then it was like Jordans.
Right.
I had like all these Jordan shirts and a pair of Jordans and Levi's. Oh my God.
Yeah. They went crazy over that stuff, and you gave it away. Good for you, man. I'll tell you, if you don't think we live in the greatest country on earth, get the hell out. Okay, that's all I can tell you. I mean, I'm an immigrant. I'm a proud patriot, and I know we live in the greatest freaking country on earth. Is there a dark time in your journey, in this journey of yours, that you'd be willing to share with your listeners? And I don't, everybody, like I say, we kind of talked about the problems you had, and maybe that's the answer. But if anything else comes to mind,
I'll go there. I'll go there with you, man. And this one's tough to tell for me, right? So this is why I got into multifamily, right? Okay. And at that time, so if you would have looked at me when I was flipping single family homes, right, you would look and say, man, Corey's super successful.
Oh, wow.
Right? But I'm telling you, internally, I am a train wreck because I'm tied to my cell phone. I'm finding deals. And every day is like nonstop.
It's a grind.
Right? Yeah. And I have kids and a wife. And my son one day was like, hey, Dad, are you going to go to my game on Saturday? Yes, son, I'm going to be there. Right? I'll be there. 3 o'clock. No problem. But in my mind, I was like, dude, okay, I got to go look at, I didn't look at these 3 properties that I got rehabbing. I need to go early. So I go early, and I got a plan, I'm going to get to the game on time. And the first property, oh my God, there's stuff missing, whatever, yada, yada. Got to go run a Lowe's, right? Getting a little bit behind. I come to the game at the very end of the game.
At the end of the game?
At the end of the game.
Wow.
And Rod, this is tough, right? So my son comes off the field crying. And he's like, Dad, you promised. You promised. Right? And I got his head in my chest, and it's like,
oh, no.
Just that kind of, so I tell the story because I have to go there to tell it right. And I'm telling you, it broke me.
Wow.
I was like, what am I doing? This money, it does not matter. Like, I'm breaking my little kid's heart because he just wanted dad. He just wanted time. Kids don't measure money. Time is their equity. And here I am, and everything I've wanted to be was to be a good dad, and I'm breaking it.
Wow.
Now kids are resilient, and
you made it up, I'm sure. But
Connor's like, well, he still wants to get in my truck and go home with me. That makes it worse, because see, the whole time, the whole time, and I drop him off. I look at my wife. My wife's like, you better fix it.
Yeah. And
I get in the car. And in my truck, and I'm driving around, and I'm telling you, Rod, I am cussing myself. You son of a, and I am just giving myself the how-to, and finally I just get exhausted, and I ask God for forgiveness, and I receive it, and in that empty state of mind, when I'm zero, dude, that's when I drove by that apartment complex, and it was like God turned me around and said,
no kidding.
Yep.
Wow.
He's like. And when I saw it, and I framed that question, how can I own? Wow. And then I went back to Bruce because Bruce had time and money, right? And he did it through.
That's the kahuna you're talking
yes,
about? Right.
He did it through, and like he was living that lifestyle.
Right.
Not, I was flipping.
So you had him give you coaching to get that thing done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's how.
That's quite a story, brother. I will tell you, on the same wavelength, you know, my greatest regret in life was I'd come home to my kids. I used to have an $8 million mansion right across the bay behind us here. God's got a sense of humor. I lost it in all the craziness, so I get to see it every day. But I used to come home to that house, and I'd play with my kids, but I wasn't there mentally. It's my greatest regret to this day.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I really impart this on my warriors, on my students. We spend a lot of time on this because it's not just about financial success. It's about success in every area of your life, especially your relationships, the ones that matter. And so we spend a lot of time on that. But yeah,
I'm glad I fixed it then, because I'm telling you, I'm living that life now.
Yeah.
And there was an early lesson. Thank God it was early. But it did break me, and it made me so much more attentive to, like, what am I doing? Does this business opportunity, because we have opportunities as entrepreneurs.
As entrepreneurs, it's a shiny penny thing. Oh, shiny penny, turn your head. You know, you want to do this, you want to do that. And right.
So you learn one word with 2 letters in it.
Yeah, no. That's right. And I have to learn that I get asked all the time to go speak at stuff, like I'm sure you do, and it's like, you know, good Lord, you know, you just holy shit.
You're still good.
Holy, you were still recording?
Yeah, you're still recording.
Okay.
Just the lights.
So we had an exciting lightning strike. I don't know if you guys heard it on the audio, if you hear it or not, but everything went out. We are on battery power right now. So I just want to thank you for coming, brother. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming out, man.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to come in and just tell the story. And, you know, one thing I'll say is real estate's crazy, man, but it will give you a life that you'll never, ever dream of. Like I never thought it would be this good.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the process along the way.
Yeah. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. You know, they're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. You know, and maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, you know, incredible cash flow, and they think, well, it's just scary. You know, buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. See, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and they own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345, or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.